Hey, queens. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so I'm gonna try, if you've ever watched one of my videos before, which you may have done, you may not have done, no worries either way. Ignore the dead flowers. But if you've ever watched one of my videos before, then you will know that I have a habit of yapping about anything and everything. I am going to try today to keep on topic and not be too much of a yapper. Pollen from the flowers, sorry. So today's video is the first one I think that I've done that I can't really be a yapper in. Usually my videos are just like, here's everything that I bought this month, which allows a little bit of yappage. Here's like, I don't know, a vlog, which allows for me to yap. Do you know what I mean? Sorry, I'm so tired, I just woke up. But this one is the first one that I'm doing that I think I kind of need to stay on topic for. This is caffeine-free Coke, by the way, not full-fat Coke. You wouldn't know it from looking at it, but it is. And it's good for you, so I don't know, I'll just be drinking it. It tastes nice. It's Diet Coke, though, which I'm not usually a fan of Diet Coke. I'm usually a Coke Zero kind of gal. But I will drink Diet Coke if it's either this one, the caffeine-free one, or you know when they bring out the pink one for boob cancer. I drink those ones as well because it tastes of pink, which I like, which I've been told is stupid, but anyway, onto the actual topic of the video. I finished my first book of the year. I actually finished it on the 19th of December. Today is the 24th of December. I finished it on the 19th of January and today is the 24th of January. But I couldn't do this video on the day that I'd finished it because I was at my grandmother's house because the 19th is her birthday. Then I couldn't the day after because I was at my grandmother's house because I was supposed to be going home on the 20th. But then we got a flat tire and it was too dark to change it, so I was there for an extra day. And then I couldn't do it the next day because I was travelling home. And then from then on, I just kept putting it off until today, which is only a couple of days, so it's not that bad. But, oh my god, I just realised I'm going on a tangent again, sorry. Anyway, so my first book of the year, 1984 by George Orwell. I probably will at some points in this video say 1989 by accident because I keep calling this book 1989. I've also, I think, called it 1987 a few times. Probably 1974. I keep getting it wrong, but yeah. 1984 is the book by George Orwell. There are going to be spoilers for this book, so if you don't want spoilers, go away. I've warned you now, so not my fault. Anyway, so the book is essentially, I do have notes of what to talk about, but I didn't specifically write out, like all I've got for this section is synopsis, so I'm having to do this off the top of my head, but it's fine because I read the book. So the book is essentially about, it's set like in the future, but from our perspective it's the past, but when it was written it was the future. It's set in the far distant future year of 1984, right? We're in London I believe the country is called Oceania, and it's the future and we're at war, And we keep flipping between being at war with East Asia and Eurasia. And the political party in charge of Oceania is called Big Brother. And they have 3 main mottos, which is slavery is freedom, war is peace, and a third one that I can't remember. Give me a second to Google it. Big Brother mottos. Okay, it's going for Big Brother the TV show rather than Big Brother from... Right. It's gone for Big Brother is watching you, which is not the one that I'm looking for. I'm looking for freedom is slavery. Freedom is slavery. War is peace. Ignorance is strength is the third one. So, yeah. And then, basically, there are these things called telescreens everywhere which show, like, play constant propaganda. But also, they are always watching you. They have cameras in them and microphone. So they can always see and hear you all the time. And they also kind of brainwash your children so that if you commit thought crime, which is essentially just thinking anything about the party is bad, if your kids catch you talking in your sleep, for example, about the party being bad or Big Brother being bad or whatever, then they will report you and you will be taken to the Ministry of Love, I believe, which is a place that they torture you if you've been bad. Anyway, so the book kind of starts with Winston, who's the main character, buying a diary, which is illegal. And then he starts a diary, and it goes on from there, of him kind of committing more and more thought crime. It's kind of reiterated throughout the book that, like, it's impossible for a revolution to ever happen because, you know, you're always being watched, so it's not like you can start talking to people about the fact that you have these views in order to then see that they have those views as well and come together. And also, even if you weren't being watched all the time, the way that everyone is so brainwashed, it's kind of, even if you did get a minute without a camera and you said to someone, hey, I hate that Big Brother guy, and they did not hate the Big Brother guy, then they would report you and you'd end up getting tortured. But anyway, there is this thing called the 2 minutes hate, where you have to kind of... I'm really bad at doing a synopsis, I've realised. I think I'm just giving a blow-by-blow of the entire story. But anyway, there's this thing called a 2 minute hate where you have to, like... They play this, like, movie about this guy called Goldstein who tried to rebel against Big Brother and how he's so evil and so horrible. And you have to get up and start screaming and shouting at the screen because they're watching you. And if you're not passionate enough about screaming and shouting about how much you hate Goldstein, and you're in trouble. That's it. You're committing a thought crime. How dare you? And for some reason, the only time we actually see the 2 minutes hate happening, Winston, who's the main character, looks at this girl and goes, oh, I hate this girl. I wish that I could R-word her and kill her. Which is... So yeah. Not grand. But then later on in the book, he she like trips over and he helps her up, and she hands him a note that says "I love you," and he watched her approach and was going, "Oh, there's that woman that I hate." She trips over, hands him a note saying "I love you," and then he's like, "Oh, I'm so in love with this woman." Anyway, so yeah, that's the synopsis. I've probably done that really badly, but there we go. Let me just highlight that because I've done it now. Okay. The next thing that I've got written down is that I tried to do 1 chapter a day of this book. That was the goal that I'd set. 1 chapter a day. Because then I'd worked out that I can get through the book before the end of the month. And I'd have just like, I think I worked out that I'd have like 2 days spare in the month, but I could be lying to you. It wasn't many days, but it was a couple of days. I ended up not doing that because there were so many days that I didn't read. And then I would make up for it by every time that I was on a train for a long period of time, I just read the entire time. And then it got to the point where I was like, probably about that much left. So I was like, I'm just going to read at my grandmother's house and get it done. The next thing I've got on the list is the fact that I'm going to stop saying, oh, the next thing I've got on the list. Don't quite know how I did that, but that's fine. Yeah, the next thing that I've got on the list is that I kept having to motivate myself to actually get through the book. Like, there were so many times that I was getting bored and I was like, I don't want to read this. And I'd have to, like, consciously think about the fact that, like, there's so many ways that this could end and I don't know how it ends. Like, I don't know if Winston's gonna end up being able to overthrow the party. Maybe they're gonna end up killing Winston and then it's gonna show, like, in, like, 50 years the party's been overthrown. Like, maybe, like, there's so many different things that could happen. And, like, I don't know how it's gonna end, so I may as well find out how it ends. And, like, satiate that part at least. Sorry, I had to yawn. But at the same time, I can't just skip to the end. Because, you know, what if it mentions something that I've missed and then I'm in the blue? In the dark. In the blue? In the dark is what I meant. So yeah, I was not enjoying this book. At first, it took me a while to figure out the whole, it's so far in the future, 1984 bit. Because I was, at first, this is going to sound dumb, but it kept reiterating that the party could just change the past, right? Like, we're at war with Eurasia, and we've always been at war with Eurasia, and anything to suggest that we could have been at war with East Asia at some point has been completely destroyed or altered. So all the documents show that we have always been at war with Eurasia. Like, it was so heavily reiterated that the party could change the past at any time. And Winston himself said, we don't know, there's no way to know exactly the date, but it's probably somewhere around 1984. So I, at first, thought that meant the reason that it's so far in the future, 1984, which is in the past, was because the time had been travelling normally, and then the party had kind of gone, what if we told you it was actually in 1984 right now? And everyone had gone, oh my god, it's 1984. Anyway, moving on. It did take me a little bit of a while to realise that the book was just written in the past. And at the time the book was written, 1984 was in the future. Let me just do a quick Google search as to when the book was actually written. It probably says somewhere in there, but I cannot be bothered right now. When was 1984 written? Thank you. 1948. So he just took the year that it was and flipped it around. 1948, 1984. Which means, in the perspective of today, that would be like me writing a book about 2000 and it wouldn't be 62 because I'll just be flipping, but that would not be the same distance. Is there a piece of paper that I can do some maths on? There is. Give me a second to do this maths. I'm really good at maths. But that's fine. So, 1984. Take away 1948 equals... equals 1980 minus 1944, which equals 1940, take away 1904, which equals, I've realised that I can just do 40, take away 4 then, which equals 30, 36. Okay. I don't know that that's correct. Hang on. 48 plus 36. Well, 8 plus 6 is 14. Then that's 8. 84. So that's correct. Wow. Okay, which means 2026 plus 36 equals 12, 6, 2062, which I suppose is quite in the future. I suppose that makes sense. I suppose I understand that. I think I get that. Anyway, ow. Yeah, I suppose the world could change a lot between now and 1960, whatever the hell I just said. 60, did I say 64? No, 60? I don't know. Whatever I just said. Literally whatever I just said. Anyway. So yeah, it did take me a while. Because I guess I'm just stupid. Or is it? Slow. My next gripe with the book is it's so long. Like, it's not a thick book, but the chapters just kind of draw on and on and on and on and on, and it's so slow. And it's just, I don't know, I just found it so boring. I feel like I'm gonna get murdered for this opinion on 1984, because I know that a lot of people do like it, and I know that it's an important book to read. But it's so relevant, I know that. I just found it so difficult to get through. I guess it's just not my type of book. And I'm not judging anyone who does enjoy the book. I think you are a better person than I. You are a smarter person than I. Yeah, I just couldn't do it. There was one chapter in particular that was so long and so boring that I just could not. I like kept genuinely going, I could just skip to the end of this chapter. But then I couldn't skip to the end of the chapter because there was, on the off chance that at the very end of the chapter something pivotal happened and then I was confused. But I really wanted to skip to the end because it was the longest chapter ever. I will try and find it for you. Hang on. That there is all one chapter. I think it's part 2. Yeah. Part 2, chapter 9, starts on page 193 and ends on page 240. That is a ridiculously long chapter. Look at that. And the whole chapter is pretty much just, Winston picked up a book. The book said, we're at war for the sake of being at war. The being at war for the sake of being at the war means this. And it means this, and we do it because of this, and this is what makes it possible, and this is why it happens, and also there's no reason to even try and rebel because it's not possible. But also, this is definitely a book that was given to you by Big Brother, not by Big Brother, by the Revolution. But also, we're at war for the sake of being at war, and also we're at war for the sake of being at war, and we're actually at war for the sake of being at war. It was so boring, but then I was right not to flip to the end of to the next chapter, because right at the end of that chapter I'm about to give a big spoiler. It was like one of the main like pivotal moments of the story where they were like looking out of a window going, we are the dead, and then they heard a voice behind them going, you are the dead, and then they looked around, couldn't see anyone, they were like, huh? And then a painting on the wall came down to reveal hidden telescreen! Oh my goodness, who could have seen this coming? But yeah, it did kind of come out of nowhere. But yeah, so from then on, he was being tortured. But that chapter was the hardest bit of the book to get through. From that point on, I actually kind of enjoyed reading the book. I can't lie to you. Ow, I hurt my hands. Like, from that point on, it was actually kind of interesting. And I don't know what that says about me that I didn't enjoy the book until he started getting tortured. But, yeah. The next thing I've written down I've kind of already touched on, which is I didn't get the whole, I hate her, I wish I could R-word her and kill her. I love her. We should go risk our lives to bonk. I don't get it. Like, I don't know. I don't know if that's just me being stupid. I don't know if everything about this book that I didn't get is just me being stupid. But, yeah. I also didn't originally get the whole O'Brien thing. Because if you haven't read the book, then, I'll explain it for you really quick. Essentially, there's this guy called O'Brien who Winston had this suspicion that he was against the party. And he'd based this suspicion primarily off of a look that they shared one time. Yeah, he thought O'Brien was a friend, but didn't really know how to go about finding out for certain. And then one day, O'Brien approached him and was like, hey, you can come to my house if you want. There's a new version of the Newspeak dictionary. Newspeak is like the language of the place. They kind of just take words and combine them. Like, instead of saying bad, it's ungood. I can't think of any other examples, but they basically take Crime Stop is one. Yeah, stuff like that. So Winston took that as, oh my god, he's asking me around his house so that we can talk about rebelling against, ignore the sticker on the bottom of my cup, rebelling against Big Brother. And so he didn't go straight away. And then when he did go, for some reason he took Julia, who is the girl that he hated, and then fell in love with within seconds. For some reason he took Julia with him, even though they've had to be, like, really sneaky about ever meeting up. Because if they got caught meeting up, they'd be killed. But for some reason it's fine to be caught meeting up at O'Brien's house, when the excuse that Winston had for going to O'Brien's house was, I want to get a dictionary, which you don't need Julia for. Do you know what I mean? So that was interesting. But then it turned out towards the end that when Winston was in the Ministry of Love being tortured, O'Brien turned up. And at first I thought, oh, O'Brien's here because he's also been caught and he's now also going to be tortured. But then O'Brien started torturing Winston, and for some reason I was like, oh, Winston's hallucinating. And then that kind of went on for too long for it to just be Winston hallucinating that it was O'Brien, and I was like, right, so O'Brien is one of the bad guys, despite the fact that when Winston went to O'Brien's house and said to O'Brien, I'm going to place myself at your mercy here, I hate Big Brother and the party, and I want them to die. I didn't get why O'Brien didn't just arrest them there. But I kind of realised that it was, like, throughout Winston's torture, O'Brien kept saying things, and then Winston would say something back, and then O'Brien would say, actually, I have this recording of you and Julia that proves you wrong. So I kind of realised that was why. Because he didn't need to collect evidence to prosecute. Like, it was very frequently reiterated through the book that they would just take you for anything. Like, you could just pull the wrong face one time and then they would cart you away. So they didn't need evidence. So it just confused me. But then I did realise that they didn't need evidence to prosecute. They wanted to gather evidence to use against him in his actual torture. Which I guess made sense. So yeah, that's that. The next thing I've got on the list is also something that I've already touched on, which is the fact that in that really long chapter, it was essentially repeating itself. And it was just going on and on and on about the fact that we're at war for the sake of being at war, and there is not really any way to topple any of the countries. Like, the main three powers in the world, Oceania, East Asia, and Eurasia, they're going to keep being at war with each other because they profit from being at war with each other, because they don't want people to be comfortable. Because when you can be comfortable, then you can start criticizing or something. Because they don't want people to be comfortable. They want you to be... They want you to have enough to survive, but not enough to then be comfortable and happy. Because if you're just a little bit hungry and a little bit like, you know, then they can turn that into, instead of being, oh, I hate Big Brother because I'm hungry, they can turn it into, hey, it's their fault. It's their fault. If we weren't at war with them, then we would be able to give you everything you need, but we're at war with them, so we can't. So you should be angry at them. So all of the anger can then be directed at the people that you're at war with, rather than anyone ever criticizing you. But they kept repeating. It just kept repeating and repeating and repeating the same kind of concept, that we're at war for the sake of being at war, and we're never going to win the war. It's going to go on. The concept of war itself has been fundamentally changed, because rather than being something that inevitably has a victory, it's just kind of now life. That's life. That's what other people say. You're riding high in April, shut down in May. Anyway, my next thing is, again, something I've already kind of touched on. I loved the ending. And I know I said I enjoyed the book from the point that boring ass chapter ended to the end. I enjoyed the book. I did say that, but I mean specifically, I loved the ending of the book. I'm so glad they didn't go down the route of, like, there was a minute that I was really worried that they were going to be like, oh, the other country's taken this one pivotal place in the war, and now Oceania's crumbled and Big Brother's defeated. I was so worried they were going to pivot to that, because I feel like you can't have a whole book building up how undefeatable this country is, just to then, at the end of the book, defeat the country. I feel like that's a cop-out. And not only that, I love media where the bad guy wins. I don't know why. Like, this book, where it's so relevant to, like, today. In real life, obviously, you want the good guy to win. But in books and films and stuff, I just love when the bad guy wins. I don't know why. Again, I don't know what that says about me, but I don't know. I feel like it keeps you on your toes a bit, you know what I mean? The fact that the bad guy could win, you never know. And would you look at that, the bad guy's won. Because, again, this is a spoiler for the end of the book, but as he's being tortured, it's kind of towards the end of his torture, where they're kind of getting him ready to kind of send out into the world for now. They're kind of like, okay, we're done with your torture, but you will be shot in the back of the head at some point when you're least expecting it. He was like, okay, I'm fine with that. I'm going to make sure that the party doesn't win by having my last thought be hatred towards the party. Because when he was being tortured, he was told that the reason they can't just kill him without torturing him is because they don't... If you die still hating the party, then in their eyes you've died a martyr, and they don't want that. They want you to die fully loving the party. So Winston was like, I'm not going to let them win. I'm going to do everything that they want me to do up until the very last moment. And as soon as I clock, even if I just have 10 seconds of, like, warning before that bullet hits my brain, I'm going to use every last ounce of my body to be hateful towards the party. And then they won't have won. It's too late. They've already shot me. They can't unshoot me to then torture me again. I've won. And then when it actually came time to shoot him, Winston's last thought was, I believe the exact quote is, "I love Big Brother." That's the appendix, which I didn't read because I didn't want to. There's the last sentence. I think it says, "I love Big Brother." It's either "I love Big Brother" or "I love the party." I don't know. But either way, so the party, like, Big Brother, like, fully won. Even over Winston's own thoughts. And yeah, I loved that. I thought that was so fun. The next thing, there are so many big words and made up words that I just really kind of struggled to get through it. And again, I know that's just because I'm stupid, but I feel like I should have started my little reading journey with an easier book. Like, I wish I'd kind of left 1984 until, like, August and started with The Hunger Games, Catching Fire, Mockingjay, Songbirds and Snakes, and then Sunrise on the Reaping, I think is the order that I'm doing it in. But yeah, it was just a lot of big words and made up words that I just was struggling with. Okay, next thing I have to say is the characters. They kept naming characters and saying, "Oh, this is a guy who's, like, he's in love with the party and he's so, like, brainwashed that he you know, all this." When it actually came, like, they would name a person and then 5 seconds later I would have no idea who that person was. And, like, when he was in the Ministry of Love at the end, they kept saying, "Oh, this person's been arrested too." And I was like, I have no idea who that person is. I am aware that you've mentioned their name before. Couldn't tell you anything about them, despite the fact that you told me something about them earlier in the book, because the characters are just so forgettable. The only characters that I can name for you now is Julia, Winston, O'Brien, and Syme. And then obviously Big Brother. Like, I could not name a single other character for you. Obviously Winston's the main character. Julia is the girl that he hates and hates and hates and then loves and loves and loves. O'Brien is obviously the guy who might be part of the resistance. Oopsie daisy, he's not. And then Syme is just a guy who is, like, obsessed with Newspeak and works on the Newspeak dictionaries and then disappears one day for whatever reason. So yeah, those are the only characters that I could actually name. I ain't got a clue about any single other character's name because most of the characters were so forgettable. There was a character who wasn't particularly forgettable, but I just don't remember his name, and that's the guy that owns the shop. That Winston ends up renting the flat above. Illegally, by the way. And then it turns out that the shop owner was actually part of the Thought Police and the main reason that Winston got caught. But yeah, I just don't remember his name. I can't lie. The second I finished this book, I immediately picked up my next book because I was so happy to get it done. I know I said I enjoyed the second half of the book. Well, it wasn't really the second half, but, like, the end of the book. But just the fact that the first, like, big and main chunk of the book was so difficult to get through meant that the second I was finished the book, I was like, thank God for that. On to the next. But yeah, I get why it's an important and relevant book, and I don't regret having read it. I'm glad that I've read it. It was just so boring. It is very, very relevant to today. I think if you take communism and replace it with capitalism, particularly capitalism in the US at the minute, there's a lot of things that I think that are just relevant to today. Like, there is a lot of surveillance happening in the US. I think a lot of what's happening in the US can be mainly compared to Hitler, the Nazi Party, more so than the book. But there is a lot of stuff that's happening in the book that is like, I can see this happening with the US. Do you know what I mean? I don't think the US is in Oceania. It did tell you in that long, boring chapter. It did go into like a whole tangent of, okay, so Oceania includes this bit to this bit to this bit to this bit. East Asia includes this bit to this bit to this bit to this bit to this bit. But yeah, so overall, important book to read, just difficult to get through. And like, I feel like that's just a me thing. I don't think I have heard a single other person say they didn't enjoy this book. Every single other person that I've ever heard talk about this book has gone, it's such a good book, like it's so politically relevant and all this. And like, yeah, it is really politically relevant. I didn't enjoy reading it though. Doesn't mean you won't enjoy reading it. I think I'm just too stupid for this book. I think that's all it is. Anyway, that's me done talking about 1984 by George Orwell. I'm now working on The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. So yeah, that's the end. Ta-ta. Adios. See ya.